Welcome to the Renegade Nutrition Podcast, where we discuss all things wellness.
I'm Eleni Welch, nutritionist.
And I'm Kay Boyer, health enthusiast. Welcome back, Renegades.
Welcome, Renegades.
I am excited for today. Already, Dr. Wendie, has already has us in stitches over here. I can't wait for this interview and everything, Wendie, you have to say.
Absolutely. Welcome to the Renegade Nutrition Podcast, Wendie. Wendie Trubow is a functional medicine doctor, correct? Like, is that an okay title? And
title,
she's also comes from a standard conventional MD background, was a gynecologist as well, and focuses on women's health. So for all of our women listeners, this is an episode just for you, the 85% of you that make up our population.
That makes
and
sense.
for the men who are listening today, send this episode to a woman friend.
Yep, and we're here to educate you boys.
Right. Yes, you should stay on and learn about women.
Yep.
Wendie is located in Boston, Massachusetts. So cool. And they have a brick and mortar functional medicine practice, which is 5 Journeys. And she also has drwendie.com. For those of you who aren't in the Massachusetts area or don't want to travel to a brick and mortar, then you can access her online. So today we're going to talk with Wendie all about environmental toxins, right? And mold toxicity, heavy metal toxicity, all of those things that surround us. But first and foremost, welcome to the podcast, Wendie.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here. And I think for the men, if you're still listening and you didn't jet, for the men, if you live on this earth, those toxins impact you too.
Yes.
And they can make you grow boobs and they can make your sex drive messed up and make you have belly fat. So this is pertinent for men too. And we can dive into how does it impact women and how does it impact men. But if you live on this earth, you're getting exposed to toxins too. And it'll make you fat, sick, and nearly dead. So it's both. It's not just for the women.
Well, shoot, I need to learn how to grow boobs, so I'm going to listen today. God didn't give me big ones. I need them, so I'm all ears.
That's Vicky. Vicky gives you boobs, right? Like she'll make any shirt look good. But
that's right, Vicky. That's right. I love it. Okay. So we normally ask like the history of our interviewee and how you got into like more of a functional world, and how did you decide that more the holistic, natural way was your path?
Okay, brace yourselves.
Okay.
Right? So my mess became my message, no question. So let's skate through the first 35 years of my life. I was born normally, vaginal delivery, breastfed at a time when doctors were like, why would you do that? My mom's like, because I think it's natural.
Yes.
So she breastfed me. I had pneumonia at 6 months. I had strep throat, ear infections, back to back to back as a child, the whole time.
Okay.
By the time I was 15, I had irritable bowel, nutrient deficiencies. And then in my 20s, I had the world's most irritable bowel and terrible room clearing gas. But I was just figured everyone else had a better cork and it was me.
Oh gosh, that's the worst.
The worst.
That's
Fast
the worst.
forward, I had challenges getting pregnant, made up for that. I had a premature delivery for my first kid. And then with my second kid, after she was born, I was a hot mess. And my husband was like, well, why don't you go see my mentor before we lose our insurance and it changes to a form he doesn't take? So at 35, I was diagnosed with celiac disease, and he's a functional medicine doctor.
Wow.
And that was my intro into functional medicine. And I was like, oh, now my husband was doing functional medicine, but you can't treat your family. And he never really talked about it with me. So I was diagnosed by him. That was my intro into it. And I then decided that I wanted to be healthy, and I always wanted to be healthy, but I had the tools now to make a difference. So I went gluten-free, and I started untangling all the 20 years plus of dysfunction that had occurred in my body. And I ultimately went into functional medicine because I was like, this is really cool, right? If you leave women alone, babies will most of the time deliver themselves.
Yeah, right.
And there's a lot of people who can do surgery and have good hands. So I wasn't needed there.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people who can take care of women from a functional medicine standpoint. So I went into functional medicine and really, dove all in, poster child, blah, blah, blah. And then fast forward to my late 40s, I was 48, and I came back from vacation and gained 10 pounds, got lost half the hair on my head, and had a rash on my face that was killing me, and had fatigue and brain fog. And I'm in functional medicine. So when you say, oh, I've gained weight and my hair's falling out, everybody knows you check your thyroid.
Right.
Right. Check your thyroid. So I check my thyroid. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm 48. I'll check my hormones. Perfect. So then the philosophy in functional medicine is all disease starts in the gut. So I was like, well, okay, I'll do a stool test. Let me send in poop, said no person ever. But I was like, well, I should do my stool test. So I did it. And it looked pretty good given that I'm a celiac with candida and gut issues. And so now I'm really stumped.
Right. That's so frustrating.
So frustrating. It's hard to treat yourself too. And my husband's like, I don't know what's going on with you. I'm like, well, that's not helpful.
Yeah.
We practice together. Like, pretend you don't know me. Tell me what you do for me. So, but he's like, I would do those things. So fast forward a few months and I read this article about when Notre Dame burned, it released almost 500 tons of lead dust into the air. And the closer you were to Notre Dame, the more lead exposure you got. And the farther away, the less you got. And that makes sense. Well, that vacation I went on was in Paris the week after Notre Dame burned.
Oh,
no.
Oh my God, right? So I said to my husband, oh my God, I got a lead exposure. We all got a lead exposure, but I'm sick.
Yeah.
And so I tested my lead. And here's the caveat. Doctors are terrible patients, okay? We're arrogant. We think we know it all.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I had done my lead testing and my metals testing years before, and it was like mildly positive. And knowing now what I didn't know then, I shouldn't have blown it off, but I blew it off. I was like, well, it's just mildly positive. How bad could it be? It could be really bad. Okay. It could be really bad. So I tested again and it was 25% higher than it was. Definitely positive, got my attention. I was clinically relevant. And I also, by the way, had low levels of mercury that weren't present before. And then I decided to test for mycotoxins, which are the toxins that mold puts out when it's in your body. Very creepy. And I had 5 strains of those. And then I tested for the other stuff, the gasoline fumes, the flame retardants, phthalates, plastics, styrene, nail polish, blah, blah, blah. And I had a whole list. And this is how we got to the book. I said to my husband, I am such a dirty girl. And we're writing that book because I'm the poster child for healthy living. And yet I have all these issues because I live on this earth. And so we decided we'd write the book to get the word out because nobody makes the connection between autoimmune disease and toxins, or cancer and toxins, or degenerative disease and toxins, or obesity and toxins, or diabetes. But all of those directly track back, and it's related to the exposure and the dysfunction that they cause. And so my mission is to not have people die decrepit in their beds at 65, but to live until they're 100, vital, vibrant, healthy, able, and interested in intimacy, and that every decade gets better than the one before. So that's my mission. So that's why we're having this conversation.
Oh, my
wow. Okay, well, first off, you look amazing. You look like you've reversed aging, because I would not have
I was going to say, I wouldn't.
North of 48.
When you said, like, when I was 48, this happened, I'm like, you are older than 48
that's what I was, like,
now?
doing my math. Like, oh my God,
53. I'm 53.
You're 53. You look astounding. Okay, we have goals. Okay, I'm reading your book now.
Yes.
That's amazing. Okay, and I also was going to comment on how amazing, like, God, the universe, whatever is that you were sick, couldn't find what was on. And then a couple weeks later, you get that article about the Notre Dame burning. Like, how cool that, like, God gives clues. You know what I mean? Like, look out there. And it's like, if you keep looking and keep searching and digging, like, you're going to find hints to your better self.
And it's such a good reminder to me, too, as a nutritionist, that you know, I would have taken the same journey as you. Like, thyroid is obvious. Okay, let's test that. Okay, wow, that's surprising. Your results look good. All right, well, let's look at some gut health. Let's see what's going on there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's looking pretty good too. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit more stumped. Let's do a female hormone panel.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good reminder of, oh, yes, there are external factors that could be really involved in the process. And it's hard to sometimes it's hard to remember that because you expect to see something biochemically within the body. So you're expecting those abnormal hormone results or those abnormal stool panel results or, something that's crazy with your reverse T3 or something. You just expect to see those things. And when you don't, as a clinician, it can be so frustrating because I remember when you're learning in school, they give you all the textbook cases. When this person has this issue going on, these are the test results you're going to see. And it almost never works that way in a real human.
Right. Right.
Such a good reminder to
Yes.
think outside the box too.
Okay. Well, now I'm completely invested in your story. So I need to know what you did so you can be 53 and look like you're 34 still. So what's the rest of the story? How did you? Yeah.
So definitely don't look 33. Definitely don't.
Well,
but
it's a good filter.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
mid to late 40s. Okay. So everybody wants to deal with the toxins when they learn about them. They're like, okay, now we're going to do that. I'm like, well, no, actually not so fast, because you think of it like crawl, walk, run. So you can't be super sick and go right into toxins because you'll be crazy sick. It'll make you sicker.
Right.
So when you first start out, I think of it like the foundation of your health. There's your physical body, your gut health. Are you pooping? Are you sleeping? Are you stress ball? How are you eating? What are you eating? Who are you eating it with? Do you move your body? Those are the foundations of your health. And we cannot go anywhere until we deal with that. But then once we've dealt with that, we deal with, let's evaluate you for the toxin. So when I started this work, I already had almost 15 years of functional medicine in my body under my belt. So I didn't start on toxins from hello. I started on toxins. Thankfully, I got that massive exposure when I had already done my gut health and I had already done my adrenal health and I had already done the liver health. I'd done a lot of work before I got there. So I did dive right into toxins work, but most people can't do that. It's just that I happened to do it at a time when I was in the path already. So
that's so important.
So we have to pick where we do it. But what I started to do is I focused on the mycotoxins because those are binders. And I focused on the metal because I clearly had an exposure that sent me off the cliff. And what's really nice about most of the environmental toxins is that they come out in the same way that the metals and the mycotoxins do. So if you can address those two big ones, most of the toxins are going to come along for the ride. So that's the good news. They synergize.
Awesome.
Bad news is it takes a while.
Yeah. So what were all the things that you did to help?
Well, I was going to say maybe
we
should cover what are some of the most common sources of environmental toxins, because then if we cover those, then we could go into kind of helping remove them, but maybe starting from the ground up. So where do we run into those things?
Okay. So I always like to think of it as I'm very much a categories human. So the first category of things that you get exposed to for toxins are the things that you put into your mouth. So that's your food, your water, your alcohol, sugar, artificial colors, artificial flavors, pesticides, herbicides, insecticides. Anything you put in your mouth, if it's not natural or if it's challenging to the system, it can serve as a toxin. So that's the first major first major category. And the thing that I want to add in here is, are you drinking your water from single-use plastic water bottles? That goes into that. So that's one category. The next category, and for all the people who love beauty and love looking good, like I do, this is for you, because this is all the stuff we put on our bodies and put in our hair and on our skin and on our makeup and facial toners and blah, 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 and all the stuff that we put on our bodies. By the time we get ready for our day and we're done, often we've put 250 chemicals on our bodies. And so it comes in the form of endocrine disruptors, phthalates, PFAS. If you take your clothes to a dry cleaner, there is formaldehyde in the stuff they use. And I'm all tweaked. I'm salty about this guy who advertises that he does clean dry cleaning. And I'm like, I called him. It's like, so what do you use? He goes, blah, blah, blah. He rattles off this long thing. I said, could you please spell that for me? I don't know what you just said. So I look it up. It's formaldehyde, just a different form.
Snakes.
Salty, right? So you have to be really careful, even with the dry cleaners who say, oh, it's very clean. It's not. So be careful on that. So anything, because your skin is your largest organ, it'll have you thrive or dive. And so if it'll either help you detox by sweating, or you'll absorb stuff and it'll make you sick. That's the second category. The third category that you get exposed to is all the other stuff. So this is where your very popular vegan leather chair comes in, right? Vegan leather is all the rage. I was searching on Wayfair and they're like, vegan leather. I'm like, no. Vegan leather's plastic.
Yes.
Vegan leather's plastic. It's plastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So no cow is harmed, but you're harmed.
Yeah.
So it's really sort of a zero-sum game on that. You're not better.
Yeah.
And it's plastic, so it's bad for the earth.
Yep.
Flame retardants in your bed. Your bed is a flame retardant so that if the house burns down, your bed won't burn. That's really not going to help you, honestly,
Right.
unless you're a smoker. The only way that really helps is if you're a smoker. When you drive in a car, there's 10,000 chemicals. When you drive in a new car, those 10,000 chemicals are like, right in your face.
I've never had that problem. Continue.
Right. And if Kay's husband is listening,
Yep. I would like the new.
hint, hint, wink, wink.
Yep. The
New car
Grand
with a car
Cherokee.
filter.
Yep.
With a filter in it.
With a filter. See, we can take care of that.
Yeah, all problems are fixable. This is where the nail polish comes in. This is where air quality comes in, water quality comes in. This is where you buy furniture, or if you do construction on your home and you have volatile organic compounds, or you're using something that off gases. This is if you have a lot of EMFs, or you live near a cell tower. There's just a million ways you get exposed. If you live near an industrial plant, a highway, a farm, or a golf course, all of those have lots of chemicals associated with them, so you're getting exposed.
In my case, I live by all three. Live by Highway 1, a golf course, and a farm. That's
In
right
the
next to
farm.
us.
Yep. Can't get away from it. And it really is, in the modern world, like all of this stuff is everywhere. You can't even get away from it. Oh my word. I was like, I need to go take a bath now. But even my bath is shit at this point.
Right? Your water quality.
Yep.
So PFAS in your water. I mean, so I think we should have started this conversation by saying this is a horrifying conversation.
Yeah. Yep.
And you're never going to be, especially for all the perfectionists in the room, including me, you're never going to be free of this conversation. So it's not like, okay, I did detox Monday through Wednesday. I'm good. I'll see you next year. No, it's not like that at all. It's like, you do detox ongoingly and you just start to chip away at what are you being exposed to so that you can decrease that just deluge. We're getting, it's like a waterfall and we can't handle it.
Right.
So that's so don't get tripped up by you're not perfect. You're never going to be perfect and it's never going to be done. It's just going to be better enough so that your body can take care of the rest.
Yes.
Because it can.
Yes, and don't get overwhelmed with the everything. Just change what you can today, a little bit more tomorrow, and just grow on all of that. Yeah, because even for me, I'm like, I'm got overwhelmed. I don't know what to do, and I'm very action oriented. So now I'm like, okay, tell me all the things, but we'll get there. Eleni always pulls me back because I'm like, I'm a fixer. I need this fixed right now for the whole world. If we could do that during this podcast,
That's true. And I'm a storyteller, so I like to go through things sequentially. And Kay is like the person who literally opens and reads the very last chapter of the book and is like, do I want to read it or not? And I'm like, no, Kay, you're taking it out of context.
Through the emotion. And I'm like, I can't handle the emotion. We need to solve this problem for humanity. Okay.
Well, so I'm curious. I mean, obviously we're all being exposed kind of all the time to all these things. So how do we determine what sorts of tests are there? What sorts of analyses are there? How do we determine really if the levels that we're at are causing a problem, are causing toxicity, or does it just cause toxicity at any level? And how do we test that?
I love this question, Eleni. Okay, so think of it like this. If you wake up in the morning and you feel freaking amazing and you get your labs done and everything's perfect, you're at your perfect ideal body weight, you have no anxiety, depression, your gut is amazing, there's no part of your body that you notice because nothing bothers you. You never have headaches, you never have PMS, your periods are amazing. It's like a blip. Nothing happened. It's like we're in Barbie land.
Yeah.
Okay, if your life is like Barbie land every day, you don't need this conversation.
Okay.
If your life is not like Barbie land, it's impacting you. Okay. So, and yes, sometimes you get a headache because you're dehydrated. So not every headache is, oh my God, I have toxins.
Right.
And not every time you have PMS is it toxins. It could be a stress toxin, right? Stress can make PMS. So it's more about if your doctor says to you, if you go to the doctor all those things you go to the doctor for, and the doctor's like, oh, you're just getting older. So
Right.
resign yourself. And you're like,
Boo.
oh, okay. Well, that's kind of depressing, but okay. That's the stuff that's toxins. All that weird stuff that you go to the doctor for and they don't have an answer for you.
Yeah.
That's toxins. All the diagnoses that fall in the category of autoimmune, degenerative, that means Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's. It means any type of metabolic dysfunction, from PCOS to prediabetes to type 2 diabetes to cardiovascular disease to cancer to obesity or wasting to hair loss. Pretty much everything that you have can track back to toxins. So if you're not amazing and you don't feel freaking amazing and you have these weird things, you're like, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting older. You know, everyone in my family has this. So maybe it's just part of our genetics. Yeah, we all get blah. Well, you all live the same, think the same, and eat the same and live in the same places. So yes, you do. But it's not genetics so much as simply the exposures that you're having lead you to the same place because genetically you're prone. So basically, if you're alive on the earth and you don't feel freaking amazing, you need an evaluation.
I love it. And it would just be like, if we came to you as a functional medicine doctor, it would be like a blood draw. Is that how they can test it?
No.
No.
So let's start with the foundation. So when we look at the adrenals, we're doing saliva. That's looking at, are they over or underactive? If we're looking at minerals, we'll often do a urine test. If we do gut health and some hormone health, that's stool.
Wow.
If we're doing other minerals, nutrients, and long-term risk of disease, that's blood.
Okay.
And then most of the toxins evaluation is actually urine.
Wow.
It's not blood. And you do it at home, and you don't bring me any body fluids.
Okay. Everyone mail them here to Dr. Wendie.
No.
We don't want them.
No. I came into work one day, and there was a bag hanging on the handle, and in the bag was a stool test.
Ooh.
Like, please, God, please, God, please, God, don't have any stool in it. Please, please. And it wasn't. Someone just decided they didn't want to do it. They brought it back. I was like, thank you.
I was going to say it's the functional medicine equivalent of leaving a bag of dog poop on someone's doorstep. Is leaving like the stool sample, ringing the doorbell, and running away.
Yes.
A drop box. That's the real meaning of it.
That's funny. I know, for a specifically personal question, I had like 12 fillings in my teeth when I was younger. So like, I know I had half of them removed. It's a whole thing, but is
Like the mercury.
mercury, yeah. So have you
fillings.
heard of like the mercury? And I know that it can like cross the blood-brain barrier. Like, can that be tested for? How would I test for that, I guess?
You can definitely test for it. I had 6.
Okay.
I feel like we're in the confessional booth, Kay.
We are. I know. I just gotta let it out. I know.
6. I had 6 fillings, and I had 3 removed, not biologically.
Ooh,
Same.
scary.
My first set wasn't. Yeah, I know.
Scary.
I know.
So yeah, so if you have mercury fillings, you do want to get those taken out. You have mercury fillings if you look in your mouth and there's silver in your mouth. That's mercury. They're 50% mercury by weight. They never stop off-gassing mercury into your system.
Yikes.
They're so toxic that when they take them out, they have it, there's biohazard. It's for body fluid stuff. They can't put it in biohazard. They have to put it in like radioactive biohazard.
But I carry it around every day in my mouth, 12 of them. Yeah.
And it goes up and it goes down. So it goes up and it impacts the brain. And it goes down and it impacts most often your thyroid. So when you think about all this Hashimoto's, that like there's an epidemic of Hashimoto's. Well, yeah, a lot of us have mercury fillings. And so I highly recommend people get them taken out.
Okay.
So when you talk about testing, we do 2 tests. We do a baseline test. Like, the kids in Flint, Michigan, they have elevated baseline levels because they're getting an active exposure. Most of us are not, but if it's positive on a baseline test, we want to go, okay, where's that coming from?
Yeah.
Having your fillings in your mouth should not trigger that. It's more like you broke a mercury filling. I'm sorry, you broke a mercury thermometer in your hands like I did and played with the mercury. my teacher was like, that's a really bad idea, Wendie. Don't do it. And I'm like, well, it's done. I already did it.
It was
over
already
the weekend,
done.
you know?
And it was awesome.
And it was awesome.
It was really cool. Like it rolls around in your hand. It's really cool. But yeah, absorbs it. So you can, if you had that type of exposure, it will show up. And then we do a provoked test where we give you a medication that pulls those metals out of your body, binds to them, and you pee it out.
Okay.
And that tells you a hint of what's being stored.
Wow.
Now, it's not an exact science, Kay. It's not like you go, oh, my level's 13. Okay, it's exactly 13. It's not really.
Yep.
One, because if you're not that good at excreting these toxins, you don't even show the full level of what's present on the initial go around, but you show that it's present. We go, okay, there is something.
Yeah.
So for example, my initial lead level was 9. That's the one I blew off. My next lead level was 12. And I was like, oh, wow, well, that's definitely higher.
Yeah.
My lead went up to 21 when I did the detox and I started to move it. When I retested, it was even higher because what you see is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And my mercury went from just slightly positive to 41. Like craziness. So mercury was even a bigger deal, but because I had had such long-term exposure, it was all stored away.
Yeah.
Think of your body like a storage depot.
Yeah.
So it's always worse than it seems. And it always takes longer than you think it should to get rid of it. But you definitely can test it. And it's not an exact science, but it gives you a sense like low, medium, high, and go from there.
Does it store in your fat cells? Is that right? Or where would it store?
It stores in your fat. So lead in particular stores in your bones.
Okay.
So if you're listening and you have osteopenia, osteoporosis, or you're told, oh, you have low bones, or your bones aren't as healthy as they could be, that is a red flag for metals. Like anyone who says that to me, I'm like, oh, we're getting to metals. Just maybe first we got to deal with your gut.
Wow.
But so it's stored in your fat, your organs, your bones, your brain. Your brain is all fat. So it's stored.
Wow. Okay. Getting my teeth
I'm like, I need to just take a quick note over here.
Yes, I know, right?
Remember to do heavy metal testing.
Wow.
Extensive. I mean, it seems like there's extensive testing that needs to be done. And you're kind of looking at all of the bodily fluids to get to the root of it, which obviously is important in the world of functional medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would get your fillings out, but do it with a biologic dentist so that they don't just yank them out and give your whole body a big fat mercury bolus. Or you're like, oh.
Yep. Now it's worse. We have an incredible biological dentist up in our area that he's like cutting edge, and he looks like an actor off a Trek with all of his like computer techno future things. I don't know.
We interviewed him on our podcast.
Yeah. I know. What's our next question?
Okay. Well, then, yes, let's dive into this. So you mentioned some of the neurodegenerative diseases you mentioned, like multiple sclerosis, ALS, those sorts of things. How are those and some of the other chronic diseases that we've talked about, how are those connected to chemical toxicities, metal toxicities, mold toxicities? Where's the bridge?
Did you ever watch I Love Lucy?
I did when I was a kid, yes.
Okay. Do you remember the episode where Lucy and Ethel get this job in a chocolate factory?
Yes.
And their job is to wrap the chocolate. And at first they're like, we've got this.
Yes.
You know, the chocolate comes one at a time. They wrap it, they send it on. And then the conveyor belt speeds up. And then they go a little faster. And then they get a little more frantic. And then they start to miss things. And then all hell breaks loose, and it's just a nightmare. It's awful.
And they start like shoveling chocolate into their mouths to try and keep up, and
the pockets and shine's falling and it's everywhere. So you are like that experience. So you can deal with toxins as they come in small amounts, right? And by the way, alcohol is a huge toxin. So you can deal in small amounts with the toxins that you're exposed to, except you're never exposed to just one toxin.
Right.
That's not real. Right. You're exposed to, in any given day, you're exposed to 1,000 toxins. And if you just, I know, okay, it's not an issue, but if you just rode in a new car, you just got 10,000 chemical exposures. And so they start to pile on. And then maybe you're stressed when you have those exposures. And when you're stressed, you shut down your detox because you're focusing on survival. So if you're having a stressful day and you get an exposure, you don't actually do anything with that because you're too busy. You're stressed. You're like, a lion's going to eat me. I gotta survive here. Mm-hmm. So these toxins start to build up. And think of your health like a rain barrel. and it's empty. It's not really empty when you're born, because you could be born with 150 different chemicals in your system, but it's emptier when you're born. That's why kids are generally healthier, because they're more resilient. They have less exposures. They generally have less. Not all the time, but generally. As you live and you add in exposures and toxins and stressors and heavy metals or whatever you got from your mom. By the way, you get 50% of whatever your mom had. So if she had it, you have it. So you start to add these things on, and then you add on the way you eat, and then you add on, maybe you're in college and you're not sleeping, or you're in a new career and you're not sleeping, or you're in a bad relationship, you're not sleeping. And then you eat fast food, or you just start to pile it on. And at some point your rain barrel overflows. And those diseases are the overflow, right? So you develop all of these individually. All these toxins are extremely inflammatory. So and none of them in the amounts that we get exposed are going to kill you quickly. So it's not like Chernobyl, or it's not like a nuclear waste site where you die. It's more death by 1,000 cuts, and they just keep adding up. And your body goes down the pathway that it's comfortable with. So I went down the autoimmune celiac path. You might go down PCOS or insulin resistance, and someone else goes down the degenerative disease path. You go down what you're prone to. But because they're so inflammatory, the body only has a certain number of reactions that it can do, and it develops, it's not that you develop multiple sclerosis, it's that you develop the lesions in your brain, and those ultimately are called multiple sclerosis. But what you have is a end user case of severe inflammation. Cancer is the end use of severe inflammation. Cancer is not an intrinsic issue. It's an inflammatory issue. And so all of these develop because you can no longer keep up with the conveyor belt of toxins you're getting exposed to.
Yeah, and it's even beyond the so for me, like where that pathway ended up was, like you said, PCOS and endometriosis. Funny that you just
by the way,
called that out. I know.
I didn't.
I thought that too. I was
know
like,
that.
she's like a
You're just
magician.
psychic.
Yeah.
No, that's where it ended up, was PCOS and endometriosis. And an interesting research article I read about endometriosis was you can actually develop it even if a grandparent was exposed to pesticides, heavy pesticides. It can then pass on to your mother, then pass on to you. As far as I know, I'm the only one in my family with endometriosis. But my grandmother is Greek. She grew up on the island of Crete. And when she was a kid, they sprayed their floors with pesticides. So she ended up with cancer. All of her siblings that lived past the war or past, she had 11 siblings. You tended to die a lot younger in those days because there just were a lot higher rates of other things, diseases, and several of her siblings were killed in the war. But of everybody that survived into adulthood, they all had cancer. And it's been so interesting to see that play out, that toxin exposure in her, how it played out in my mom, how it's played out in me. And then reading that article and saying, oh my gosh, my endometriosis could be linked to my grandmother's pesticide exposure that she had as a child.
Wow. Wow. Interesting. Yeah. So we have to do all this work, guys, not just for us, but our future generations here.
Right. Now, are there any sort of lifestyle changes, protective things we can do, dietary changes we can make to help protect ourselves from environmental toxins? Since obviously now we know we're all being exposed, and of course we want to give people an action step so they don't just go and close themselves in a bubble.
Okay, and Kay, this one's for you.
Yeah.
Okay? This is for
Yep, I'm here for it.
Lainey asked it, but Kay, this is yours.
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
So, all right, Fixer. Okay, so
Yep.
So yes, there's so much you can do. You have 80% of the agency here. Okay, so don't get discouraged. Rome wasn't built in a day. We're not going to fix this in a day. But what we are going to do is start to chip away at this and create a scenario where it works for you. So going back to the 3 categories, the things you put in your body, the goal would be that what you put in your body is pesticide, herbicide, insecticide. And when I say herbicide, what I really mean is glyphosate. That's the most commonly used herbicide in the world. Its use far surpasses anything else. And every 7 years or so, it doubles. So it's otherwise known as Roundup. Commercially, if you're spraying stuff on your yard, it's known as Roundup. That has glyphosate in it. And also things that make it more synergistic, so it's more toxic. So what you're putting in your mouth, have it be organic if possible, minimally processed, no artificial colors, no artificial flavors. Don't eat or drink from single-use plastic wherever possible. Don't drink alcohol because it's a straight up toxin. It'll shut down all the other detox because it's so much of a clear and present danger that it'll distract the body off all those other exposures. If you're buying, okay, so that's the things you put in your mouth. If you can, filter your water to the best of your ability. And what I say to people is everything's better than nothing. Mm-hmm. So if you're not filtering your water at all, anything you can, I had such analysis paralysis. Like, what's the best filter? You don't have to get the best filter. You just have to get a filter. Mm-hmm. And then when you're ready, get a better filter. So if all you can do is filter one place in your house, do that. If you can filter the whole house, great, do that. If you don't own your house, don't put a whole house water filter in. You don't own the house. Don't spend money on that. Mm-hmm. But get point of use filters if you can, or countertop filters. So do your best with the resources you have to the best of your budget.
Yep. That's
category 1. Should we pause there and unpack that, or do I keep going? What works for you?
I love that. No, I feel good about that. I want to keep rolling on all the answers. So, yep.
Okay. And that makes sense?
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
Yep. I love it.
All right. Then the stuff we put on our bodies. Mm-hmm. You have so much agency here, and it can feel overwhelming, but here's where it's like, oh, this is really easy. So basically, you have what you have, you should use it. But when you run out of it, that's the opportunity. Or when you're contemplating buying a new mascara, eyeliner, cover-up, blemish fixer, whatever, that's the opportunity to look at either Yucca, Think Dirty, or Environmental Working Group. All of them have apps. You can look up what you have first. Start. Maybe you nailed it, right? You don't even have to do any work. And I happen to have picked this brand of mascara that it was good. I was like, go nice. It's good. So I continued using it, right? So I looked it up. I felt good. But then I looked some other stuff up. I was like, I didn't feel so good about that. So when you're running out of it, level up. Mm-hmm. And as you run out, so don't throw it, unless you're listening and you are fabulously wealthy with 6 personal assistants, which is not my scenario. But if that's your scenario, then yes, you should do a clean sweep, get rid of everything, and make your assistants replace everything with clean.
Yes.
But that's not most of us. So as you're running out, level up. And that is your facial toner, your moisturizer, your blemish spot fixer, all your makeup, all the lotions. Don't dry clean your clothes. Okay. I do buy relatively expensive clothing, and I do not dry clean it. I wash it.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. I hate dry cleaning.
Yeah. Never had it in my life.
I just don't buy clothes if they say dry clean only. I'm like, well, forget that. That's not my life.
I think you just Febreze it, guys. I think that's how that works.
I don't think that's any less toxic.
Oh, you're right. It was Febreze. Would it be good?
I don't think that's less toxic.
And I will say, we have the gift for people that'll have all the list of things that they can do, but I'll just rattle off my favorite brands, right? Yes. Like, I've done all this work. You don't have to do the work. I did the work. I use on my face, for facial products, I use Beauty Counter.
Yes.
They're all natural. They're certified by Environmental Working Group. I also use something called Vintage Traditions, which is my moisturizer. That's, I don't know, at the risk of offending the vegans, it's beef tallow. So if you're vegan, don't get that.
If you're offended by this episode, you're going to be offended by a lot of our other episodes. So
okay, perfect. So it is beef tallow, but it's from cows that are grass-fed and not pesticide grass-fed. So it's very clean. And I use Everyone for lotion. So those are the things I use that I'm putting on. And then for makeup, I have 3 brands I really like that are super clean. One is Beauty Counter. Most of what I'm wearing today is from Beauty Counter, with the exception of my mascara is from Natural Mineral Fusions.
Okay.
I've tried them.
And my lipstick is Burt's Bees. Actually, right before the podcast, I ordered a couple more because I was like, I don't have it in my purse. I don't have it at home.
Yeah.
It's so cute and little.
You need a purse one, a car one. Yes.
And my boyfriend is sending it to me. It's coming tomorrow. Prime delivery.
I love it. That's the best way. So
yeah, we joke that he's my boyfriend. He doesn't know it.
Yes.
But he sends me everything I want, so he's my boyfriend. Yeah. Anyway, so make it easier on yourself. Just as you're running out, level up.
Yes. Yes.
And there's all of that other stuff. Okay. So I got rid of nail polish because when I did my levels, my nail polish levels were super high. The chemicals in nail polish. And there is one brand of nail polish. I think it's like Piggy something. I didn't like the colors. They were like kid colors. And I'm like, I'm not wearing bubblegum pink on my fingers. So I stopped doing my nails. If you're buying a bed, go for a bed that does not have a flame retardant. Because unless you're a smoker. If you're a smoker, get a bed with a flame retardant if you smoke in bed. But otherwise, you probably don't need a bed with a flame retardant in it. It's just, it's not in your favor. It's endocrine disrupting. It disrupts the thyroid. And so you lie in your bed for 8 hours a day and you absorb it. And here we are, thyroid dysfunction. So
plus, if you're a smoker, maybe fix that problem before worrying about what your bed is like.
Maybe don't lay in bed.
Major toxic exposure. Actually, you got it.
Yes.
Filter your air to the best of your ability. And that's pertinent, especially if you live near a farm, a golf course, an industrial plant, or a highway, because you're getting exposure to things that you have no control over. So filter your air in your house so that you can have control over it. And if you're choosing to buy a new place, try not to live near one of those, right? Choose not to live near one of those. If you're doing construction on your home, aim for no VOC paint, because it takes for flipping ever to off gas, and it keeps exposing you to cancer promoting chemicals. There's a site called Green Building Supply that you can get clean building supplies from.
Wow.
So we had a flood in our basement about a year after we finished it.
Yeah.
I know, right? So we have this flood, and we had cork backed flooring, which is great. So we rip out the flooring and it's moldy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm like, well, they had discontinued that particular line.
Yes,
So
of course.
we actually got full on cork flooring because it's mildew, water resistant. And in case that ever happens again, we're prepared, right? So you're going to want to do construction in a way that doesn't continue to expose you. If you're buying furniture, you're going to want to buy furniture that is cleaner, right? So a Prop 65 is great in California because they have all these rules. So you can, if something says it's Prop 65 compliant, you know that it's not sprayed with chemicals. So when you're looking for furniture, you look for Prop 65. And Wayfair, which is my go-to, actually has an ability to shop sustainably. And you can say Prop 65 compliant or organic or natural. You can say how strict you want to be.
Cool.
So there's an opportunity there. For example, we're looking for a couch because I have 2 cats and they've decided that the couch was their claw post. And so they destroyed the couch, and I'm looking for a couch. I'm like, I want a leather couch. So I call Wayfair and they're like, oh, we have this vegan leather. I'm like, no. We want leather. So I'm looking for a leather couch. Let's see. Let me pause there. There's like a lot of things to do. You know, it's really, but it's about small changes. Small changes add up. You don't have to solve world peace. You just have to solve this one little thing in front of you. Don't burn scented candles in your home.
Oh, yes.
If you want some kind of scent, burn essential oils, like put essential oils into a diffuser. That's safe. That's fine, but not Febreze, not any of the scents, because the thing that makes them smell like that is also endocrine disrupting. What does endocrine disrupting mean? It means your adrenals, your thyroid, your female and male hormones. Men grow breasts when they don't want to. Women have messed up periods and fertility challenges. When they want to be pregnant, they can't get pregnant. So it just messes up the system. So always, trying to minimize those things. And if you're going to clean your house, as you're running out of the house cleaner, the laundry detergent, the dishwashing detergent, the floor, window, bathroom, level up. My favorite brand is Aspen Clean because after a number of false starts, not only are they EWG certified, but they also do auto ship. And I've got a lot of people in my home. So I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth to think about when is it out. I just want it to arrive.
Yeah, right. I like Blue Land as well. I don't know if you're familiar with them at all.
I haven't heard of them.
I found them on the EWG website for house products, and I like it because they're also very sustainable. So everything is in paper. None of it's in plastic, and it's all so that we have like laundry tablets now, dishwasher tablets, and then they send you a nice little tin that you can keep them in. So your first shipment comes with the tin, and then after that they just send the paper refills. So I found them on the EWG website. And for those of you who are new moms like I was, the EWG also now has approved brands for all things infancy, for pregnancy. So there's a whole database just for things like that. So we used it to find our daughter's diapers, to find EWG approved diapers and wipes, all those sorts of things. You know, I almost feel like I'm in the place, and I bet you feel this way too, Wendie, and I know Kay's there too, where you almost know too much.
Yes, that's true.
And it can be really paralyzing. Because you, especially like having a new kid, and I'm like, I want to give her all the advantages I didn't have as a kid, and I already know all the problems I'm passing on to her, so I want to give her all of the tools to overcome them that I can. And so it can be really paralyzing, especially with a new kid, because you're looking at their bedding, you're looking at their clothes, you're looking at their diapers, like you're looking at what you're eating because they're eating what you're eating. Anyway, it's a whole thing. So it can be really paralyzing, but I love the way you're presenting the information, which is one change at a time. You know, we're all about doable on this podcast. So anytime that you can replace an object, or, you know, like with my daughter, we got lots of things secondhand. I'm not going to go out and buy all those things brand new. We don't, first of all, have the finances to do it. And second of all, it's a kind gift from somebody. You know, we got lots of things secondhand, her crib, and we got her bassinet and all those things. So I'm not going to just buy everything brand new. But my rule was anything new I buy will be low toxin, organic, sustainably made. So anything I'm buying and bringing into my house, but otherwise I go secondhand, and I'm okay with that.
Okay. And how cool is it that we are all raising our kids now with access to these healthy things, right? So like for the last 2 decades, people have been voting with their dollar, and now we have healthy mattresses. Back in the 80s, Mama only got one mattress to buy, guys. That's all there is at Kmart, you know? And now we have options, which is really, really cool.
And before that, we slept on straw.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Yeah, we were dirt poor when we had our first kid. You know, we took everything secondhand. We didn't buy any. And the nice thing about secondhand stuff is it's not off-gassing. Someone already lived through the off-gassing.
They already got the off-gas.
Like, it's not off-gassing. You're good. But I will say, you know, it's a process. Okay, perfection is not the goal. Improvement is the goal. Don't get stuck in the trap of I got to be perfect. And for example, a year ago, we went to South America. We went to Peru. Amazing trip. I felt like I was going to hell because we drank water from plastic water bottles the whole 2 weeks we were there because they don't have a sustainable water system. It's not safe. And I was like, oh, I'm going to hell. I got to go in the sauna when I get home.
Yes, I got to detox this out.
You have to be expeditious, right? You're never going to be perfect. It's like work with what you have and make the best of what you have, and don't let it make you crazy.
Yeah, because then the stress of you being stressed out about it is worse than what's in the bottle. Right.
Yes.
It's so true.
So don't let it make you nuts.
Yes. Okay, well, now to also fulfill my need of this, what did you do to save your health? I'm clear back on your story. How did you detox all of your
So we're going to get down and dirty, right?
Yeah, I want to know all of it.
Exactly. Okay, so detox is not for the faint of heart. And when I say detox, I do not mean a juice cleanse. I do not mean a reset. I do not mean a dry January. Okay. I mean like detox.
Okay,
so
we're in the deep. Okay.
Let's carve this out. So let's, for the mycotoxins, we do binders. And at that time, so this was 5 years ago, because I'm 53 now and I was 48 then. Okay. Anyway, so when I started, we were doing a lot of binders that were really painful to take, not because they caused pain, but because you have to take them 2 hours apart from food and other supplements.
That's so hard to schedule.
It's painful.
Yeah.
So I was at the time doing cholestyramine, which is a prescription.
Okay.
Activated charcoal, chlorella, and clay. I took them all together, but I took them all 2 hours apart from food and other supplements. So
because otherwise you buy nutrients in the food, right?
Exactly. So I did that. And then if I had a good day at work during the week, I'd be able to get a second dose in around 3 o'clock because it's not lunch and it's not dinner. But usually at 3, I'm hungry. So I would be like, oh, well, I'll put some pills in and then I won't eat because I'm going to take the pills. I can't eat. So I did that for years. And then we've evolved. So now what we've evolved into is there's a strain of fiber called the propylmanin fiber. It's konjac. It's a konjac root. It's literally from food, and it binds all the strains of mycotoxins. And that it's best if you take it like a half hour away from your meals. but it doesn't have to be taken away from other supplements. I wouldn't take it with thyroid medication. I wouldn't take anything with thyroid medication.
Right.
But it's much easier to take. And the chlorella also doesn't need to be taken 2 hours. I was just taking it because I'm like, I'm not going to take a binder at another time. And chlorella, what's nice is it straddles both mycotoxins and metals. So it has a dual purpose. So I started doing 4 things, and then I evolved into doing 2 things after 5 years. I started that like 8 months ago.
Wow.
I went from 5 strains of mycotoxins to 1, and that last strain is significantly lower than it started at, so I'm almost done. Except I got a mold exposure this summer. Went into a house, it was moldy, got a mold exposure. So it happens. One out of every 2 buildings is mold. Mold has had water damage. So
And in Iowa, it's 3 out of every 2 buildings.
3 out of every 2.
So moldy here.
Super moldy.
Okay, I do want to talk about mold, but I want to get back to your detoxing. So you were in the long game. Like, I was thinking you this was like, oh, I got it out in 6 months. No, this is like half a decade of commitment. Oh, I'm in love with this. Like, it's a lifestyle. It's how you live. Wow.
Yeah. So separate the 2 things. So also remember, I have terrible detox. I'm the canary in the coal mine. I literally sat my parents down a year ago and I was like, I'm so happy you had me. I'm so grateful to be here on this earth making a difference. But you really shouldn't have had children. I have the worst genes.
Things we could all say to our parents. Like,
you shouldn't have.
Yeah, you shouldn't
So I have the worst detox. I literally, if you expose me to something, I'm going to be like, oh, welcome. Come hang out inside, because I'll just hang out with you forever. On my left to my own, I would not detox. So I'm like harder than most, and my levels, I was just a mess. So, but it is a commitment. It's usually a couple years to get stuff going.
Wow. And because also you want to do it slowly, where you're not bombarding your system with that offload of toxins. So it needs to be slow.
Yeah. And you get treatment fatigue, and you're like, oh, I need a break. I've taken breaks. I take a couple months off, or I'm like, oh, I got to test again. I'll take a break while I'm testing. So it's not constant. Yeah. And I haven't been perfect. And there's days that I skip it.
Yeah.
But all in, I'm in this. And I think that I will probably take the fiber long after I am done with the mycotoxins and the metals, because it's good for me. And it helps if I get an exposure and I don't know it.
Yeah. And specifically for you to help with your fiber getting out. It's like forever. So now that you've been doing your testing every 6 months or whatever, so you've seen your levels, were they just like stair step down, or did you notice kind of a bell curve, like, oh, we really dipped a lot at the beginning, or how, you know what I mean? Like how did you feel like your healing went?
When I first started this work, I was doing a lot more frequent testing because I hadn't understood how it looks. So when you start with mycotoxins, you start at this level and call this positive, and you want to be down off the screen. Okay. So maybe I start here. Yeah. And you want to be down here. So you think that it goes like this, right? It doesn't. It actually goes like this.
Oh, right. Because they were stored and now they're coming out.
Bingo.
Whoa.
So it's not a linear, it actually gets worse before it gets, or it looks worse before it gets better. And so I tend, having learned and not knowing, knowing now what I didn't know, I do testing less frequency because it's expensive, right? It's if you're independently wealthy, test every 6 months. But if you value it like I do, I would say test every 18 months, because you don't need to be testing that frequently for mycotoxins, because it's a slow game.
Yeah. Yep.
Then there's the metals, which is a faster game. Okay. Just not for me. So the metals, what I specifically did, and I did a lot, So most people are not going to do that. Don't forget, I work in a functional medicine facility. We have IV therapy here. So I did, and this has also evolved. I started by doing liposomal vitamin C, liposomal glutathione, IMD, which is silicone powder, liquid EDTA, DMSA, which is that binder we use to provoke. I was using it to get the metals out. And then replacement minerals and nutrients, because it does pull out your minerals and nutrients. And I was doing IV, EDTA, and DMPS as often as I could. And also sauna and exercise.
That's amazing.
It's insane.
Yeah, I was going to say, Elaine, take notes of all those science words because she's my science brain.
I'll return back to it.
Tell me later what that means. Okay, yep.
So I was basically, when you think of detox, think of it like a bar stool. So one part of detox, you're improving your liver's ability to get rid of toxins. That's the glutathione and the C. And then you want to bind the metals that you're pulling out. That's the DMSA and the IMD. And then you want to replace what's being pulled out. So that's the minerals. So we've evolved now. We still do that protocol, but we've also added in another protocol that I've switched to just because, I don't know, just switch it up, right? So I still do the glutathione and vitamin C, which support the liver. I've also added in N-acetylcysteine, which is the precursor to glutathione, and glutathione helps the liver get rid of toxins. So I do N-acetylcysteine, then the C and the glutathione. I do IVs periodically. I'm super busy now, so I'm like, oh, I haven't had an IV in a while, right? It just falls off. So I do IVs maybe once a month, maybe twice a month on a good month. And I do cilantro, pectosol, fiber, and DMSA. So I've changed it around so that it's a little more manageable for me, because the first protocol, you do stuff like 7 or 8 times a day. And I'm like, I can't cope with that.
Right.
Now, as I'm getting ready in the morning, I do one set. And as I'm getting ready at night, I do the other set. And then I do something else in the middle of the day. So it's a lot more manageable for me.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's the metals. And then the others, those all respond to glutathione, B vitamins, antioxidants, sauna, exercise, sleep. Why am I harping on those? If you don't sleep, you don't detox. If you don't exercise, you don't detox.
Preach.
So each of those is individual, helpful for detox. So I'm not specifically focusing on the environmental tox, the other category, because it's enclosed in everything else I'm doing.
Absolutely. And I think what we're hearing here, Kay, is to do this under the supervision of somebody who really knows what they're doing.
Yeah, all those words, I better not touch them.
Because I was like, I'm just, for all of the Kays in the audience, and they're the people I love, that I love to coach because they're the go-getters. I love them, but also they tend to be a little bit dangerous to themselves.
Yep, I heard 3 words I recognize. I'm going to go home and do those 3.
Because she's going to go look up like on a chemical website.
Cilantro, I got this.
She's going to buy like EDTA and DMSA and just take it whenever and however. So don't do that. Don't do that.
Right. I would do that.
Okay, let's do that. For all the Ks, for K, for you and all your soul sisters in the audience. Here's what you can do on your own. You can do cilantro on your own.
Yes.
You can do fiber on your own.
Yeah.
You can take glutathione on your own, but if you get sick, back it down or take less.
Okay.
You can do vitamin C on your own.
Yeah.
You can do exercise on your own. You can do sauna on your own. You can get more sleep on your own. You can manage your stress on your own. You can take, let's see, what else do I take? You can take a great B vitamin, a methylated B vitamin on your own.
Yep.
You can do all that stuff.
Yep, I'm on it. And those are the words I recognize. So those are things that they're already done in my head. Yep.
Yes, exactly. And you can clean up your food and drink and your beauty products and what's around you. You can do all of that. That's why I say you have 80% of the agency. Yeah. You can do all of that without me. You don't need me. Then if you want to go, I want to target, I want to know exactly what I'm treating and whether it's low, medium, or high, and I want to target those, that's when you need me, because we need to do the testing.
Yes. And that makes sense. And for all those other words that I couldn't understand or actually repeat back to you, I would need a professional. That's very true. But what's really neat is, growing up in America, and we know everyone's sick. And even my kids now are like, what makes someone sick? Can we heal them? And I'm like, gosh, guys, this is a big conversation. But I know as a kid, it was like, no, guys, if you get cancer, you're going to die. That was like the idea. And now I can be like, no, we have professionals, like they can check your toxins. We can check your metal. We can check. Like, it's such a cool conversation now in 2023 as opposed to 1994 when we were asking our elders then, like really cool that you have the power to be able to heal people from these like things that are in us that are like causing it that we didn't even know that long ago, or some people knew. I just didn't know. So
nutritionally, really cool. Diet-wise, are there specific dietary habits that can support the detoxification process? Is there a certain type of quote unquote diet or lifestyle that you recommend?
I love that, Lainey. So yes and no. Okay. So not every eating plan. I literally never use the word diet because one, it contains the word die, and I'm salty about that.
Okay. Yeah.
And two, it kind of implies temporary.
Agreed.
Right? I'm on a diet.
I'm all about the lifestyle changes.
Yeah. So I usually say to people, here's an eating plan that I recommend that you do. So there's the eating plan that promotes health. So that is minimally processed, no artificial weird stuff, nothing you don't know the name of, only food that looks like food that doesn't really need a label, not too much. Like Michael Pollan said, eat real food, not too much. So it should look like itself in life. It shouldn't be complicated in a way that you go, I have no idea what I'm eating. You should know what you're eating. And then it needs to be sustainable. So I do recommend, at the risk of alienating people, sugar's the devil, alcohol's the devil.
We have full podcasts on that, so that's fine.
Same. It is renegade. It is full renegade to think that.
Yeah, so they're the devil, and they're going to tank your health. So minimize sugar, minimize or eliminate alcohol. And then that's the stuff that promotes health. And then, okay, what promotes detox? Well, it's kind of cool. All of the green leafy vegetables, the cruciferous vegetables, the brassica family, those have substances in them that support the liver, support detox. So, and you're not going to harm yourself by eating broccoli all day. So you literally can't eat too much. Okay. So all of the brassica family vegetables, the flesh, people are like, what do you mean by flesh? I'm like, meat, poultry, fish, eggs. Those, if you eat it, those help support phase 2 detox. Wow. So that'll get you the minerals and nutrients that'll support you. You truly can eat your way to health. It's a little bit hard to get as much as you need by eating. So often people need supplemental, but you can at least reset the system, fix the gut. If you're not pooping, you're not detoxing. So you need to poop every day. And which is something that most women are like, wait, every day? I'm like, yeah, every day.
Yes, every day. Yes.
Nice long poop every day, at least once, if not twice. You need to poop. So yeah. So make sure you're pooping. What?
And then mail it to you.
Yes. Leave it on the door.
Yeah. That's amazing.
If somebody had to choose like just one thing that you've listed for us today, if they had to choose just one thing, what would be the most essential thing that you could do today to help with the detoxification?
Choice, action made.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really hard. That's not a fair question, Elena.
Right.
Because when I got married, I did not commit for life. I was like, I'll commit for 50 years and then I'm going to reevaluate. Because if you're not a nice husband, I'm out,
When your boyfriend's bringing you things, you might want to.
Exactly. I've got a better offer, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say, okay, let's pick one thing in each category and then give people a backup plan just in case they're like, well, I already did that.
Yeah.
So let's give them the top 3 action items in each category.
Okay.
So in the what you put in your body category, eliminate or significantly minimize alcohol. Divorce sugar. It's the devil. You don't want to be married to that. And aim for organic.
Yes.
Perfect. I love this.
Yeah.
I love this.
Okay.
We can do that.
Yeah. In the what are you putting on your body category? And by the way, we didn't even talk about hair dye and hair products.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
I know.
Are there like good companies that could do hair dye? Okay.
There's some.
Okay.
It's easier if you're blonde than if you're brunette because in order to get your hair lighter, you have to bleach it, and bleach is an endocrine disrupting chemical. So if you're already gray, cool, you don't have to bleach it. And then there are companies, one I know of is Overtone. Okay. They're a UK company. And I know there's a couple more. I don't dye my hair yet. I'm not going to dye my hair. I'm not organized. So I'm not going to be someone who dyes my hair. I said to my husband, if you don't like gray hair, you need another model. And just for the record, it's cheaper not to get divorced. It's cheaper to keep her.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Make your peace with the fact that I have gray hair. So
well, you don't have any grays yet.
No, I have tons. It's just that on camera it gets muted out. Trying to see there's a whole swath here that's like tied in. So anyway,
okay.
If you dye your hair, okay. So on the what you're putting on your body, This is more of an evolutionary behavior that as you run out of something, level up. That's the one behavior.
Yes.
As you run out, level up.
Yep.
And the second thing, that's an ongoing thing, right? You know, I've kind of I've been in this game for 5 years. So I'm like, oh, I got my products.
Yeah.
And I don't really change it. But if you're new to it, that's your action. Then the next thing would be, don't take your clothes to the dry cleaner unless it's a steam dry cleaner. Don't take them to a formaldehyde dry cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third action item around that, those are probably the biggest two, honestly.
Okay.
Because it's hard to control what's happening in our environment, really, on any given day. It's not like you can say, well, your first step is to stop leaving your house, because your house might be a toxic minefield too. So
True. Yeah.
for some people, your first step is to get out of your house.
Yeah. Go outside.
Especially if it's moldy. Get out.
Yep.
And then in all the stuff that's around you, probably the most impactful things are, again, take it as it comes. But most impactful would be filter your air and filter your water. In fact, a 1989 study implicated 1 in every 6 deaths, or associated 1 in every 6 deaths with either air or water quality. And it's gotten worse since 1989.
Wow.
So filter your air or filter your water.
Okay, that makes me feel good. We do both in this house.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. I do 1.5.
That makes me feel good. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Two things I wanted to hit before we do go is the mold side. So, let me see, just because we haven't hit that too much, the protocols that you said that they help with the metal and the mycotoxins, they would also help with the mold then?
Yeah, mold is mycotoxin. Mycotoxins are mold in your body.
Got it. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
My non-science language in my brain.
No, it's all good.
Like
if you didn't get it, other people didn't get it either.
Yeah.
So
Okay, good. I'm here for the people.
Yes.
Okay, so then that kind of covers if you have like mold toxins.
Yeah.
Okay, you said you had 2 cats and they ruined your couch. Well, my cat has ruined my drywall behind my my vanity, because you know how cats like to drink out of the sink and then they like put their head on it and it splashes. Yeah. Now I have Kevin's like, look at, and we just remodeled our house, so everything should look good, but he's like, look at this, it's kind of weird, and we pulled it and there's mold growing behind where that danged old cat makes it wet. So now I'm like, shoot, what am I gonna do? So now I'm airing it out, and I put an air filter in that room. But maybe you don't know the construction side of this. I need to almost pull that all out, or can it like dry up and heal itself, or it needs to be gone? I don't know. Or do you know?
I do know about this because I've experienced it. And that's part of that environmental thing. You know, if you think you're exposed to mold, you should test your home. Home Depot has these great kits that you can put room by room.
Really?
And it's like $15 per kit. So it's not super expensive.
Yeah.
You can get someone in. It's, you know, I'm in Massachusetts. Iowa prices are different, but it's hundreds of dollars. It's not cheap to test your home. Mm-hmm. So test your home if you can. And if you can't, get the Home Depot test strips. Wow. But in terms of when you have mold, you have to get rid of it. It won't go away. So my husband's Ukrainian actually. And he, when we built our house 20 years ago, he wanted a steam shower. So, and I promise I'll tie this back in. So we put the steam shower in, and I said to the electrician, oh, we're having a steam. So put the fan right outside the steam. He goes, no, I already put it in. It's over here. Yeah. Mansplaining. I'm salty about this too. Yes. He refused to move where the fan was. So, okay, fast forward. I was like, oh, we should test our house because this is what I do for a living. So we should test our house. We finally tested our house, and we had mold in our bathroom. Not surprising. And he was like, yeah, you have a ventilation issue because you have steam here. I was like, see, I was right. So there's the steam here and there's the ventilation way over there. And so there's mold. So they come, they remediate the mold. Great. But I said to my husband, our bathroom's 20 years old. We have to fix the ventilation issue in order to use the steam. And I am not ripping out the bathroom to fix the ventilation in a bathroom that's 20 years old. We're going to rip out the bathroom because it doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. Like why would we spend all this money to renovate, to rehab something that it's 20 years old. We're done. Enough. Yeah. So we rip out the bathroom. We're in the process of this right now. We rip out the bathroom. And I said to the guy, rip out the walls. And he's like, you don't need to rip out the walls. They look fine. I'm like, rip out the walls. Listen. I'm paying you, right? Yeah. Like you rip out the walls. The bathroom had mold, rip out the walls. So then he rips out the walls. He's like, it looks fine. I'm like, great, rip out the ceiling. He's like, no. I said, yes. So he rips out the ceiling. The whole ceiling is covered in mold.
It is.
It is.
And was there anything visible on the outside? See, so you just got to test.
Oh, golly.
Not a thing. So he rips it out. He's like, your whole ceiling is covered in mold underneath.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had the mold guy come and remediate it. And here's like the exception. I'm a huge fan of doing construction cleanly, but killing mold, I was like, you know what? We're going to kill the mold.
Yes.
It's not like super, it's not friendly. You have to stay out of the area for a couple of days. Yeah. And I'm a huge proponent of that because mold is worse than the chemical used.
Yes.
So make a choice, but kill the mold.
Yes.
So we killed the mold. Mm-hmm. And now we're going to put the ceiling back because we killed the mold, but we're going to do a spray foam. So that's not, that doesn't allow it to get wet.
Yeah.
So yes, if you have it open, you got to open it up, but you have to dry it out. And then you have to kill the mold that's there because it'll just keep growing.
Wow. And here's another testament to testing your house. My husband and I in our last house did a remodel. Anyway, the full house was being remodeled. The contractor that was working there called us one day and he was like, so I ripped out your bathroom floor and it turns out your toilet's been leaking for probably 15 years. The whole bathroom floor was rotted. We had a cast iron tub in that bathroom at the time. He's like, it's actually a miracle that tub didn't fall through the floor into your basement. He was like, I tracked the mold and it's all the way up the bathroom wall and it goes into the ceiling of your bedroom next door. So, and we did not see anything. We had no idea the toilet was leaking. It was all onto the plywood beneath. So test your home, get the, if you don't want to shell out for the in-home testing, get those test strips like you talked about from Home Depot and just see, because it may not be visible. Because I know, my first degree in my previous life was, environmental health. And they teach you like, oh, if you see water spots and invisible things, it means you have mold. But you could have mold without seeing those things too.
Wow.
Exactly.
Dang. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go home and tear out some drywall tonight. That's what I'm doing.
Wear a mask. If you're sensitive to mold, wear an N95 mask.
Okay.
Because the spores, and make sure you have that air filter. Close the doors.
Yep.
Have an air filter running.
Yep.
Have a mask on. Like I would never remediate it myself because I'm so sensitive.
Yes.
That's how I got that mold. That's how I knew I got a mold exposure this summer. We made an offer on a house and. I was like conditional on not having mold. I walked in, I was like, the house is moldy. We're not buying it. And we didn't even bother testing because everyone who went in it got sick. So we didn't even test. We just rescinded the offer. So wear a mask, have an air filter, and then those clothes need to go right into the wash.
Okay. Even the clothes, that makes sense.
Track the spores all around. So
yeah. It's so true how mold is so dangerous, how it like lives off of living things and it takes over. It's true. Like, don't mess with mold. Like, that's wild. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy. I know we've covered so many things today. Is there anything we've missed?
No, but I had one more question.
Oh, well,
I have.
Go ahead.
Okay, listen, I always like to know. Well, you've been practicing a lot of what you've been preaching, so I'm sure you'll ace this. But as a nutrition podcast, I'm interested. What do you have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and what are your snacks? I'm just interested. I just like to ask people. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. So during the week, it's different than at home. So during the week, so I do intermittent fasting. I've been doing intermittent fasting since before it was a thing. Okay? It didn't have a name. It's just how I ate. I like to eat late.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of supplementation in the morning. I don't eat in the morning. I eat typically my first real meal at around 12 because that's when my patient break is, my break from patients.
Yep.
So I typically eat around 12 and I have a shake. It's a protein shake and I add in bee pollen for allergies, cinnamon for both flavor and for blood sugar control. Because my dad and my grandfather had diabetes and I'm like, oh, okay. Genetically I'm at risk even though it's a toxin thing.
Yep.
Anyway, I just add a bunch of stuff in. I add stuff in, powder for gut control. And so I add that in and I take that I mix it up and I take that around 12. Mm-hmm. And then I used to eat leftovers later.
Yeah.
And I found that if I'm stressed and I eat food that's complicated, I have terrible gas.
Yeah.
And so being with patients, is not conducive to having gas.
Yeah.
Those don't go together.
It's even more stressful at that point. You're like talking to
Yes.
them and you're like
Excuse
6 inches
me.
off your chair trying to like clench.
Yes.
You're like a lady.
So it kind of depends on the day, but so I bring along, I have pistachios, I have pecans, and I have sunflower seeds as a snack, and I rotate through it. And it's apple season in Massachusetts, so I also have apples. And so I have those as a snack, and I always bring along a second shake in case I get hungry before I go for dinner.
Yep.
So if I get hungry, I'll have a second shake because of that. Like, I don't want to be with people and be uncomfortable. Okay. Now, what's interesting is on the weekends, I don't have that problem. So it's just very interesting because I'm not running around as much on weekends. So on weekends, I go to the trainer in the morning on Saturday, and he's like, you don't come if you're not going to eat first. He's really strict.
Yeah.
So because I've been sick when I don't eat, so I will have either soft-boiled eggs or scrambled eggs with crackers. I do corn crackers.
Oh.
And then for lunch, it'll be typically we have these. My son doesn't like sweet meat, and neither do I. So we have these sausages that are not sweet, either jalapeno or truffle. So we'll have that with also either some rice and then salad. And then dinner is protein, some type of carb, either rice or sweet potato for me. And then vegetable, some kind of roasted vegetable, and then salad.
Yeah.
So that's
Lovely.
typical, kind of a typical thing.
Yep. That's a wonderful menu. Okay, you nailed it. You're practicing what you preach. That was good. And sounds
I try
delicious.
not to eat sugar. Sometimes I eat sugar, but I really try not to.
Yeah.
And
And we feel it when we have the sugar. Like, since we normally don't, when I have it, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Yep. But I needed a mental break, and I did it. So, yep. Well, good. Well, I have learned so much today. I'm blown away. And it's really neat how you've made all of these, like the neurotoxins, say the words for me, all the toxins in our environment. It's like, for me as a listener, I'm like, yeah, we have toxins. I know, I'm bored. No, this was not boring. This was like very pertinent. Everyone needs to listen to this. Like, go make your house better. You will feel better. And I think that was the really cool part for this podcast for me. It was just like, wow, this really matters. And there's something you can do about it, which is really cool.
And so first of all, before we sign you off and we'll get all of your, I always like to say on the episode what your website is, what your functional medicine practice is, and then what your social media handles are, because we also put them in the show notes, but we do have people who have trouble finding the show notes sometimes. Anyway, I like to have it in both places.
Yes.
So would you
where to
mind
find your book?
sharing, what your book is called, where to find it, all of that information in the show. We'll also put it in the show notes.
Okay. All right, y'all. There's a lot of information. So there's going to be a test at the end. Okay.
Yes.
So the book is called Dirty Girl, Ditch the Toxins, Look Great and Feel Freaking Amazing.
Yes.
You can buy it on our websites, which I'll share in a moment. You can also get it from my boyfriend from Amazon.
Mr. Amazon.
It's on Kindle. And very shortly, I will be doing the audiobook. It's not yet on audiobook, but I will. I promise. I promise. So that's the book. And then we have a brick and mortar for people who say, oh, I really want to be seen, do this deep dive into toxins. That does require a visit to Boston area, Massachusetts, because Massachusetts law requires that you establish care in person.
Okay.
So that's the bricks and mortar for people who say, oh, I really want to do a deep dive. That we have 2 locations. One is in Newton, Mass, and one is in Boston, Mass. We just opened our second. That's called 5 Journeys. And that we take insurance, we have a medical practice, and we do membership on top of that. And everything's functional medicine. And then we have our online brand called Dr. Wendie, and that's where the gift comes from, drwendy.com, where if you want to have a chapter 1 of the book, a quiz to figure out how toxic you are, or get started on cleaning it up, we have a non-toxic guide to healthy living. That's drwendy.com/gift. And on that site, we do limited testing, group programs, coaching, community, and we have supplements. So that's that site.
Awesome.
My social media, everything is at Wendie Trubow MD, both for Facebook, Instagram, and then I think you might have asked me something else and I've forgotten the question.
I don't think I did. I think
you
just
nailed it.
where to find the book, how to find your practice and your website
And social media.
Okay.
Okay, that's everything.
You nailed it.
You nailed it. You nailed it. Well, so good to meet you. You are such a fun personality. Like, this was hilarious. I think I laughed the most on this podcast that we have yet to date. So congratulations.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having me on. You guys are awesome.
Oh,
Great
thanks.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And for our listeners, go be renegades.
Go be renegades.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Nutrition Podcast.
Please keep in mind that this podcast is an educational service that provides general health information. The content on this podcast is not a substitute for direct, personal, professional medical care and diagnosis. You should always talk to your doctor before making a dietary or lifestyle change. Go be renegades!
Go be renegades!